So now we need to have a customer exposed as a property to satisfy the binding for our input fields. To do that, as I mentioned in the previous module, we're not just going to expose the customer model object itself. Your model objects may not always be in your complete control to shape them in the way you need to handle data binding from a view and a view model. At a minimum, they have to implement iNotifyPropertyChanged fully, not partially as we've done so far on this one. And as you now know, you can do that by simply inheriting from bindable base. But depending on where those entities come from and where else they're used, you may not be able to change out the base class for that. Additionally, as we'll get to in this module, we may need to implement certain things on the model object to support validation. And again, that may not be permissible to do that and have that code affect every other piece of code that uses that model object. So an easy and straightforward way to deal with that is to create a wrapped model object, or a view model helper as I like to call them. For that, we'll go into the customers folder, because this is supporting that feature set, and add a new class, and we'll call that class Simple Editable Customer. I'll quickly flesh out the implementation of that with bindable base and the property definitions that we need for editing. So now you can see we have our class we derived from bindable base. Each one of our properties uses the bindable base pattern for setting the property, and we have the ID, the first name, last name, email, and phone. Now that we have that, we can come back over to our Add Edit Customer View model and add a property named customer of type Simple Editable Customer. Once we have that property, we have to populate it when this customer object is being passed in from the parent view model. So what we can do is still take that customer and hold on to it, because when we go to save, we're going to end up needing to save to the right customer. We'll new up an instance of our Simple Editable Customer, and we'll copy the fields into it with a little helper method down below. Now I intentionally don't set all the properties unless I'm in edit mode, because when we get to a later demo, we'll see that would trigger validation. But we do need to at least set the ID so that we have an ID for the customer when we start editing. And that ID, if you remember, was being set in Customer List View Model when it was first firing the event that says it's time to add a new customer. With that code in place, we can go ahead and run. Click on Customers, click on Edit a Customer, and we can see that customer data is populated into our data entry form. And likewise, if we go to Add Customer, we just have a blank customer to start adding to. So next up, we need to add some command handling to be able to actually complete the process of adding or editing a customer, and to cancel and be able to back out of that operation if desired.